This episode we're going to continue our Dump Games Workshop series. I'm going to show you that with a little bit of knowledge around the 3D program, you'll be able to modify and customize your own 3D print models. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome back to our continuation of our Dump Games Workshop series. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through a 3D workflow on how to modify or manipulate a existing STL file in your collection, or something that you've taken from Thingiverse or My Mini Factory, for instance. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring that into ZBrush, which is my weapon of choice when it comes to 3D artwork, digital sculpting. And we're going to change that miniature and eventually 3D print that miniature. So this is going to be part one, effectively showing you the interface and introducing to you, for you, the beginner, some of the concepts around ZBrush and sculpting 3D. And then part two is going to be around the eventual 3D printing of the model itself. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you take something away from this and hopefully inspire you to customize your own miniatures and basically create the tabletop gaming experience that you want. I got this miniature free from Thingiverse, and I suggest that's what you do. You get an STL file which is freely available, and you don't have to pay anything, so you're not actually spending money, obviously, to essentially experiment really. So I think there's no reason not to get started. If you want ZBrush, there is a paid for full version. However, also look at the core version, which is a free to download version. You can do slightly less things, but it's still worth having a go. And also look at Blender as well, which has some excellent sculpting tools which are available free. However, as I said before, there's a learning curve, but hopefully if you can follow a tutorial demo like this, I think you'll be in good stead to actually learn a lot more in future and build up your skills. So what we've got here is now the basic setup for ZBrush. So ZBrush is essentially my weapon of choice when it comes to manipulating 3D objects and creating 3D artwork, essentially. So what I've brought in is a base model, which is this zombie model. There's certain aspects of this model I don't like, and these are the sort of minor changes that we're going to implement onto the actual model itself. So in terms of the actual interface for ZBrush, we've got a standard setup of buttons. It looks very complicated from a beginner's point of view, really, but after a while you kind of get used to it, and obviously it's something that can be changed, and obviously Pixel Logic, which is a company that makes ZBrush, they understand that every artist is different and has different ways of working different tools. So what they've done is they've been clever and allowed the user to be able to change the interface and change where buttons are placed through a customization option, which is really, really handy. So essentially all you need to know about, or you'll be mainly using, is obviously the different types of brushes. And you don't need to know an entire library of brushes just to get through ZBrush. There's only a select few that you actually need. That is. So what we're going to do now to start off with is obviously bringing this model. So we're going to if you bring in a model into 3D, into the kind of 3D view, we actually have to import it in as a tool. And with ZBrush, all the models, all the 3D objects are actually known as tools. So we click import, go to your folder, click on whatever kind of file it is. Personally, I like OBJs, if I say that correctly, OBJs. So that's the quickest and easiest way to I can actually import a model in. So this is we've already brought this model in, and this is the model that we're going to actually start changing and making minor amends to. So essentially what we've got is the model itself now on the screen. What I like to do, or what I like to recommend using, is to use a drawing tablet for this. You'll probably find out straight away that using a mouse is not very particularly practical when it comes to sculpting sculpting digitally. So we'll need to invest in a drawing tablet. So I would look at companies like Huion for this. They supply a number of cheaper but very good quality drawing tablets. So make sure you look for them online, be it Amazon or eBay. You can pick a decent one up for under £50. So once you get a drawing tablet, you know straight away, you'll feel it straight away that it's much more easier to move the viewport around. Starts sculpting on the model itself. So what we can do here, it's much more easier. It feels more natural as well. So what you've probably seen what I've done there is I've used a tool, a brush called Clay Build Up, and what essentially it does exactly what it says on the tin there. It builds up the clay. So I want to change the shape of the brush because I don't like square, so I've changed it to round. Okay, so I'm building up that. Okay, what I need to do now is the part I'm not particularly happy with is this this kind of crowbar that's sticking through the model. So what we want to do to that is immediately try to take it out. So what I recommend is go to trim curve, and this essentially allows you to cut pieces of the model out. So I'm going to cut that part out. So as you can see there, it's a nice clean cut. I want to cut out the spike as well. Just make sure I'm on trim curve again. So think of it, anything past that shaded area, you just see that shaded part. Anything past that shaded part will be trimmed from the model. So let go, there you go. So we've got less geometry there to kind of play with, so or manipulate in order to get rid of that crowbar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in a lot closer. As you can see, start seeing some of the various polygon shapes that make this model. So as you can see, it's made of like thousands of polygons. You don't have to go really crazy and have millions and millions of polygons to create a model. In fact, I'll probably recommend against it, because you'll have to eventually export this into an STL file, a printable file, and you don't want that STL file to be very big in terms of file size. And ZBrush luckily has got a couple of plugins to help us get past any large size STL exports that we want to do. So back to the model now. What we want to do is we've obviously used the trim to curve tool there. We want to get rid of these essentially these blocks. So what I like to do now is use a tool called HPolish. As you can see, it's bringing further down, and it's stripping out some of those blocks. Let me just make my brush a little bit smaller. There. You can also use trim dynamic as well. Let's just see what. That's a little bit better actually, trim dynamic. So just ignore some of the glitches, if you like, of the screen catching up. So as you can see, we don't want to bring it too down, just in case we be a little bit too destructive on the polygon surface. Oops, made a mistake there. So that one's shrinking very nicely there, so we can bring that right down. Yeah, as you can see, some of the polygons are looking a little bit messed up, so we can, that's alright, we can clear that up later. So I eventually want this this gap that was created in here to be smoothed out anyway, so I can manipulate that further. That's fine. Okay, so there's some basics. We'll do a lot more work on that to make sure that that's a little bit smoother and a little bit more easier to work with. So a little bit further now with the cleaning up process of this. So I've had to use something called Dynamesh on ZBrush, which is something very specific to ZBrush in terms of how it cleans up the polygons. There's loads of different tutorials, etc. on in YouTube. So if you want to look that up, you can do. But essentially, the basic gist of it is it cleans up the polygons for you. And stops giving you all these jagged, these jagged, messy polygons on the surface of the model. So we've got something a little bit more even to work with. So let's continue on. I think now we'll start thinking about using clay build-up and starting to fill that hole in. You can see it's filling up nicely. There's a little bit of distortion here on the collar, but that's fine. We can reapply that. Okay. So that's looking like something that we can definitely work with now, and we've got rid of most of the jagged, uglier looking polygons in there. So we can work with that now. So with ZBrush as well, they've got something called smoothing. So if I press shift down, and as you can see, this circle cursor goes blue. There you can see right now, starting to smooth out those polygons, smooth out the surface, create this illusion of smoothness. So that's looking way more better now. So some small things, artifacts there I've got rid of. Just adjust the brush size again. Let's try and sculpt out this collar of this zombie character again. Just make sure we define those lines. So we can go to something called dam standard now. So what this does is essentially it creates lines in the sculpt. So you can see here. There you go. There's a collar back again. Okay. So this is this is looking a lot better than it was before with the gap removed. So what we can do here again is we can go back to clay build up, yeah, and if we press Alt and go, as you can see, it's cutting into it. It's cutting into the model rather than clay building up the model. So it's actually it's actually having the reverse effect of clay build up. So we're actually stripping away. So it's looking better. Also save. And then combine it with smooth. I think you guys get the idea now. So combining obviously different tools like clay build up and dam standard, you know, we can practically make that, you know, as if that crowbar that was originally there wasn't there, so the hole's completely gone now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away, and then I'm going to clean up this, and then when I come back, hopefully this crowbar part, the rest of the crowbar will be gone from the model, and we can start doing more zombification effects onto the actual face and arms, etc. of this particular model. So we're back now. So as you can see, I've done some additional refining of the kind of shoulder, the shoulder wound side. So as you can see, it's almost as if the crowbar part was never there. If we look behind, there, the rest of the crowbar's gone. I decided to keep the rip in the shirt because I thought that was a good effect, so why not? Let's just keep that in. Okay, so right, let's think about zombification of this particular model. So right, as you can see, the face, I wasn't particularly happy with the face. Didn't quite look like a zombie to me, apart from obviously the gaping wound on the side of his head. We want more effects like that. The thing is, when you're working in this kind of scale, when you're working in ZBrush, you have to exaggerate some of the lining and some of the details a little bit more, especially if you're going to do 3D printing. So as you can see, the face looks quite cartoonish there, but actually when it comes to 3D printing it out, it probably looks a little bit more like a realistic face rather than some kind of cartoon caricature. So in terms of his head, let's think about making this particular zombie, you know, like he's obviously been a zombie for maybe a few more months. So we're looking for a very gaunt sort of facial features. So let's do that. So we go to another basic tool that ZBrush has, which is move. So I click move. Let's increase the brush size. So the thing is, because we're working on this is probably usually what I've found on working on particular models, is that there's a function called symmetry in ZBrush, but unfortunately, because of the model itself is not actually at a certain fixed point, like you know, to be able to be, if you think about it like a mirror, it's difficult to actually to do that. So because essentially what we wanted to do was to move essentially this cheekbone in a lot more further, but we'll have to do it separately, if you like. So we treat one side and then we treat the other, okay, and then we just essentially eyeball it into something that we think is looks good. So let's do that now. So I want him to make this guy look particularly gaunt. Let's see, treat the other side. Actually, I'm starting to pull in some of the other models, so let's decrease the brush size a little bit more. Affect the areas that we want. Obviously twist around the model a little bit more. Looking a little bit better actually. I don't think we should worry too much about that. If we print this out at a 28mm scale, you won't hardly even notice anything like that. Let's bring in the chin. Make the chin a little bit longer. Oh, not that long. Looking a lot better now, actually. Looking a lot better. So, on the subject of symmetry, the face is a little bit too symmetrical. You know, if you know, I'm just thinking about different zombies, and obviously you can use reference material if it helps you. But I'm just kind of demonstrating this for you guys. I'm thinking kind of like maybe one side of the face is kind of drooped down. That might look particularly good. So let's do that again. Again using the move tool. Let's just bring that side of the face down. You know. Bring that down a little bit more. Now he's looking a little bit more zombie-ish. Yeah, it just breaks off some of that symmetry. Ears. His ears. Bringing back his ears. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I like that. Okay, let's start putting some other additional details on there to his head. I probably don't want to go maybe too overboard with these giant gashes in his head. So let's try and think about ways to make him look like he's infected, basically. So let's go for like boils. That's a favourite. So again, bearing in mind that I said earlier that we have to kind of exaggerate some of the details so they come out on 3D print. So let's do that now. So maybe one on his forehead. Yeah, that looks pretty effective there. Just exaggerate that a bit more. Yeah, that's good. Let's bring out. That. Yeah, it's looking good. I think 3 looks good. Yeah, nice. That looks good. I'll also save. Let's quickly show you some another trick, perhaps. So there's something called masking, which if you mask out certain parts of the model, it only allows you to affect that part of the model. So let's put that. Let's make sure. Let's bring that here. Okay, let's do a regular shape like that. We'll reverse that shape. So Control and I should do that. Right. So this is the part that we can basically manipulate, and the rest in the shade we can't manipulate. So you can see where it's quite useful from that side. So what we can do is we can move that in. create a horrible sort of caved inside of his face, of the back of his head rather. Let's go on the mask. It's alright. Quickly Dynamesh it to clean up some random polygons, and that's looking good. I think a collection of boils in there would be amazing. I think. Let's try that. So almost like something's living in his side of his head. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that looks great. Yep, as I said before, just exaggerate some of the detailing so it actually comes out. I think that looks disgusting. Nice. But as you can see there, we've managed to I think improve this model actually. So it's looking more like a zombie, slightly aged zombie, maybe 2 months old since he was last infected. Yeah, looks pretty good. Some disgusting growth on the back of his head. Awesome. So that's it for part 1. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next part, where I'll cover some more super exciting things regarding the development of that particular miniature. But for now, what you're seeing on screen is another miniature that I'm working on, and if you can have a look at the back, there used to be a lot of artifacts on the back of this cape, and now I've actually deleted those. So it just goes to show the kind of power that learning a 3D program has, and how it can help, as I said, improve your miniatures, or get the miniatures that you want basically on the tabletop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial so far. Watch out for part 2. If you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comments section below. If you like and subscribe as always, that'd be fantastic. See you soon.